Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43 and tonight we are taking our very first look at the brand new legendary tier cruiser for the British. The Defense. Spelled completely wrong because British. Anyway, with that being said, let's look at our commander. We are running Azure Lane Belfast in the game that you're going to see. However, one other person that I'd like to point out is Miss Santa here. This is the commander I was using prior, and I believe it is the base commander. So Bruce Fraser. Don't underestimate this build for Bruce Fraser. I do have Francesco Mimbelli, Andrew the Lip. I was testing out Andrew the Lip. I don't know if that's the best play, but it was working pretty well for me this morning. But I did switch over to Azure Lane Belfast just to kind of see what it was all about. I think I prefer this build, so that's just my personal opinion, because it does have the fully packed, which gives you extra heals, which allows you to be a little bit more aggressive, whereas with the Belfast build, it's more of a DPM, sneaky, speed, like agile build. But yeah, anyway, there's a couple different builds you can go with. That's just my opinion on this, but let's get into the actual loadout. We are running the main battery mod 2 because the turret traverse on this thing is absolutely garbaggio. It's terrible, so keep that in mind. It is a British ship with the worst turret traverse on the planet, so expect it, go into battle knowing that, and then use your ship to turn to get the guns on target, and then be careful. Now, I am running steering gears here because you get propulsion mod built in, and the propulsion mod that is built in is kind of stupid, to be perfectly honest. It is one of the most busted propulsion mods in the game, and it's built into the ship. It allows you to go rudder shift here, which is very nice. On top of that, you also have concealment in the next slot. You could go rudder again, but I don't think you need to. I think it's agile enough. Plus, like I said, the turrets turn so slowly that if you go too agile and you're trying to do things out in the open, you're not going to be able to keep the guns on target. But concealment comes in real clutch. It allows you to get into some stupid crossfires, and that is where this ship thrives, right? Main battery mod 3. Obviously, we're running the epic mod. We want to reload as fast as possible. I know that this kind of undoes the whole purpose of the first module that we put on, but again, getting these guns cycling. These are 14-inch guns that reload faster than an Alaska. Just think about that. And they get faster and faster throughout the battle. So, yeah. And it's way more accurate. It's disgusting, to be perfectly honest. This ship is disgusting. Now, it is balanced, but it is disgusting. I'll talk about how it's balanced in a moment, but it is disgusting. But it's a lot of fun. It really is. I ain't gonna lie, I've been enjoying the ship, even if I've been detonated, death-struck, and thoroughly messed up on multiple occasions today. I've still enjoyed it because it's just a fun ship. It's like a Duncan on crack. It just is. But we're running the Italian Unity flag because if you squint just right, kind of looks like a Spartan helmet, and then the standard type camo that comes with the ship, or is the whatever you want to call it, the permanent camo for the ship. Repair party though. It does have a super heal, and the super heal is fantastic. Don't undersell yourself on the heal. And like I said, this is why having that extra fully packed is nice, because you get that extra super heal. And those super heals are disgusting, but you also get a pretty solid sonar. The sonar is actually an extended range sonar, allowing you to spot things from 5 kilometers, which isn't great considering there's a lot of destroyers and cruisers that have farther than that, but still, 5 kilometers for a British sonar is really good. And it lasts a long time, which is nice. The smokes are a shortened smoke. These are get out of jail free cards, or pick an enemy on a flank and just start messing them up from inside your smoke screen. With this build, with the Belfast build, you got a 9-kilometer smoke firing penalty with 14-inch guns. It's stupid. It's just stupid. And we're going to show, again, during the match that you're going to see, I think that the other build would have been slightly better because you'd have had fully packed. I could have been a little bit more aggressive, and having the armor-piercing buffs would have been nice in this match. But either way, we've got 60,600 hit points, which is hilarious considering that this is a cruiser, right? This is a cruiser that has almost as many hit points as the new Loria, okay? And this thing has a super heal. Pretty ridiculous. It's only got 19,000 less hit points than the Loria, which is the new battleship that everybody seems to love, even though I'm like, take it or leave it. Torpedo damage reduction, 21%. So not bad, but not amazing. It's a cruiser, so it's pretty good for a cruiser, but you don't want to be eating torps in this thing, as we'll showcase. 356 millimeter 45 caliber Mark 7 guns. These are 6 of them. That is the main problem. There's only 6 of them. But most of the time, they are hyper accurate, especially at medium to short range. But even at longer ranges, like you're going to be able to pick people apart because these guns are stupid and they reload so fast. So fast. 14.3 is the base reload with this build. And that's because we're running refill station. If we didn't have refill station on, it would be 16 something, which is about the same as an Alaska. But the thing is, it's 14-inch guns, not 12-inch guns. There's a big difference. HE shell maximum damage is 6,100 with a 41% chance to set fires. Don't let the fire chance fool you. I don't know why. This thing just doesn't set fires for me. I think it's the lack of guns. You only have 6 gun turrets. So I think that even though it's really accurate, the HE does do damage. Now, don't get it twisted. People bow tank you, slap them with some HE because I'm pretty confident it's quarter pen HE and it is disgusting. It pins a lot. So even if you're not getting the fires that you want, it's still capable of hurting people, as you'd expect from British HE. AP shell maximum damage is 11,550, which is really, really nasty for a cruiser. But again, 14-inch guns, and they reload stupidly. Not the most range in the world, which is why we're running the Epic Battle Booster here, because we also get a little bit extra speed as well. But cooldown time for the consumables is less, so that helps with your smokes. But the main battery range for this thing is nice. But anyway, secondaries, you do have 134 millimeter 50 caliber QF Mark 1 secondaries. You get 16 of those, reaching out to 5 kilometers, reloading at 6.7 seconds, doing HE with a maximum damage of 1900 and an 8% chance to set fires. You're not going to want to use the secondaries if you can get away with it, because if you're that close, depending on what you're up against, you're about to have a bad day. Unless, of course, you have the torpedoes, which the torpedoes are absurd. Let's just get it out the way. It's not Duncan torpedoes, okay? It's not 30,000 damage apiece, but it's still stupid. And you have 8 of them, and they're over the bow for the most part. It's not really over the bow. It's kind of in an awkward angle, making you end up over angling if you're going to use these torps, which I don't particularly like that. But they're there, and you got 8 of them, 4 per side of the ship. And they are the turning torpedoes, meaning you can get these things out in a little bit of a sneaky angle at times to catch people off guard. And yeah, 622 millimeter PR Mark 4s, you get 8 of them. 90-second reload, so not the slowest reload either, for as hard as these things hit. 180-degree turn time, nobody cares about because it's torp tubes, 15 seconds. Maximum damage, 21,067 maximum damage is absurd for having 8 of these over the bow, which is like perfect for when you're going in after people, right? And then, even if you don't manage to hit them with the torpedoes, which, let's be honest, most of the time, if you're using these torpedoes up close, you're probably landing with the torpedoes. But even if you don't get that, they have to dodge the torps, which A, leads them right into going for the other torps that you have, but also gives you a beautiful broadside for some of the nastiest 14-inch guns you'll ever fire in the game. So, yeah, I'm enjoying this thing, man. I ain't gonna lie. But 10 kilometers is the range on these torps. I think you can get that out to 12 with the other build because it has the torpedo range perk. But I think it'll go out to 12. They're not the fastest torps in the world, 67 knots, but, you know, it is the thing. They're nasty. As far as AA goes, it's pretty decent. It's not amazing, obviously. It's kind of mid-range AA. But 40 millimeter Bofors Mark 4s, you get 12 of those, doing 136 damage per second, but 3.5 kilometers. 40 millimeter Bofors Mark 6s, you get 48 of those, right? Yeah, I think it's 48. 234 damage per second, but again, 3.5 kilometers of range. Now, if you built into AA, I'm sure this would be much nicer. You'd have the majority of your AA out to like 5 kilometers. Again, not a huge buff, but it's there, right? But 134 millimeter 50 caliber QF Mark 1 dual purpose secondaries. You get 16 of those doing 65 damage per second, reaching out to 4.5 kilometers. So again, you have AA in abundance, but it's usually after they've already dropped you. So take that for what it is. Maneuverability with this thing. Remember, we do run the Epic Battle Booster, so this is a little bit higher, but 35.7 knots. And like I said, this thing has the dumbest internal propulsion mod you've ever heard of in your life. This is, if you guys remember Hipper from recent videos, this is Hipper's wet dream in terms of like agility and speed and dodging, right? Even if the rudder shift isn't the greatest, like if he put a double rudder on this thing, you're talking probably 6 seconds, 6.3 maybe, somewhere in that neighborhood. And like I said, the juke ability of this ship is absurd. Turning circle is also really good, 770 meters. It's essentially a Collingwood or a Nelson, except it can actually move. And it's dangerous with those 14-inch guns. May not overmatch a whole heck of a lot, but it doesn't need to if you can get out on the flanks in a hurry and just start ruining people while you hide in your smoke. But again, it's a ship that you kind of need a little bit of help with when it comes to spotting, because you don't want to be the frontline person. You can, but you're probably going to have a bad day. We'll go over why in a minute. But concealment with this build, 10.8. I'm sure there's a build that you can get this concealment much better than this. But still, 10.8 kilometers concealment on essentially a battleship with hyper-accurate 14-inch guns is pretty busted, right? And then, like I said, you could probably get that if you built into more concealment. You could probably get that down into the 9s, which is absurd. Detectability by air 6.8, guaranteed is always 2, and detectability while firing in smoke. Again, we are running Azure Belfast, so our detectability while firing in smoke with these 14-inch guns, 9 kilometers. Stupid. Just stupid, right? But anyway, let's go into our stats. I'm not going to have the best stats in the world because I've been playing this ship all over the place. Like, I've been playing it in up-close battles, going absolutely ham, and I've been, like I said, I've been dev-struck, I've been detonated, you name it, I've had it happen to me, okay? My survival rate in this ship, I've survived 6 out of 16 battles. That should tell you everything you need to know. It is a British cruiser. You get caught, you're going to have a bad day, right? But torpedo accuracy, 15%. It's a little higher than most of my torpedo accuracy, but again, by the time you're using these torpedoes, it's up close. It's kind of hard to miss, even though, I mean, still 15% would say that I do miss a lot. And I think that goes mostly to the fact that I'm using them as tube by tube because it is British. You can fire the torps one by one. You got 4 on either side of the ship, so it's pretty disgusting, right? We've already talked about that. And to put it back into perspective, I've been averaging 97,000 damage per match with this thing, despite playing like an absolute, like, ludicrous monster half the time. And to put that into perspective, the Loria, the other ship that just came out, I was averaging 109,000 damage with that thing. Just saying. Like, this thing's nasty, man. It's fun. That's the best part. It not only is it nasty, but it's fun, especially for crazy people like me. But average XP is 1,700. Again, I mean, it's okay. It's not the best XP in the world because if you're contesting caps, if you're going for destroyers, you're going to be disappointed a lot of the time. This thing can kill destroyers, but you only have 6 guns, right? Even if they're really accurate and you have the HE loaded, there's a good chance that you simply don't do enough, and then you're real vulnerable, right? But averaging 951,000 potential damage, again, that shows how stupid I've been in this ship. Like, that is high for a cruiser for me. Most of my battleships are around 1.2 million average potential. This thing is at 951,000 as a cruiser, a squishy cruiser. So that should tell you everything you need to know about my playstyle in this thing. But let's get into why this thing is so squishy, shall we? So as per usual, you got a 25 millimeter bow. That means anything 15 inches and above overmatches your bow, but it's much worse than that because this thing has a reachable citadel through the bow, just like Collingwood, just like the Nelson, okay? Treat this thing as Collingwood and Nelson at legendary tier with hyper-accurate 14-inch guns and a few sneaky torpedoes, and you will understand why you need to be a little bit more careful than me But get out on those flanks. Use that incredible engine to your advantage. Get out there on those flanks and just farm people. And please, dear God, use the AP on this thing. I'm telling you, if you get the AP on the broadside of these guys, now obviously for ships like the Yama, the Montana, the Kurfürst, if they're not flat broadside, aim up a little higher, avoid that belt armor. You'll slap the out of things. But cruisers, lighter armored battleships, if they go broadside and you hit waterline, sending them to the Shadow Realm is, it's not out of the realm of possibility because these things are so accurate. But the Loria is the one that this thing just chews up, man. This is the perfect counter to a Loria. Loria thinks that they're special. They get their SAP. They're like, ah. They go broadside, and you just send them to Shadow Realm with this thing. This thing will absolutely annihilate a Loria that decides to disrespect it by going broadside. I'm telling you, it is hilarious. The amount of Lorias that I have sunk with this thing is fun. It's funny as heck. But anyway. 25 millimeters of bow plating, 15-inch guns and above overmatch you, so you've got to be careful. And like I said, your Citadel is a funky Citadel. It is your typical British cruiser raised out of the waterline, asking for everything that can pin you to send you to the Shadow Realm kind of Citadel. And like I said, it's so high out of the water and so far forward because the gun arrangement that anybody that overmatches you can absolutely send you to the Shadow Realm straight through the bow. Yama... every battleship at legendary tier can send you to the Shadow Realm straight through the bow, because I don't think there's a battleship at legendary tier other than this thing that has less than 15-inch guns. So any battleships that you get into, you're gonna need to angle. But the other side of that is the side plating. A side plating's 30 mil, which on first glance is great, right? On first glance, you're like, oh, 30 mils of side plating. But again, it's that British absolute atrocity of flat armor. It seems like it's so good, but it's really not. 30 mil flat armor just means anything 18 inches and above overmatches you, doesn't care about your armor to begin with, and sends you to the Shadow Realm. Anything with 457s or less than 457s doesn't overmatch it, but if you overangle just a little bit, they're still going through and they're still sending you to the Shadow Realm. So keep that in mind. It is very flat armor, right? I know it looks like it's angled towards the front, and it is slightly towards the front, but it doesn't matter. Back here, it's so flat that, like, if you get caught, it's just GG's, right? Like I said, it's a very fun ship, but it is very squishy, so you got to keep that in mind. All right, overview. Greater heal. It does have a super heal, which is pretty nice. Repair party restores severe damage. That is that British super heal that we know and love. Sequential torpedoes can be launched one by one. Again, you have 8 of them. They're underwater torp tubes. They're right here in the front of the ship, and they're disgusting. Big and flammable. Fire set on this ship lasts longer due to her size. Now, that is one downside, and one that is a major downside, except you do have the super heal to kind of bail you out. But, yeah, this thing's damage control is not the greatest. And what do I mean by that? I mean, it's got a very short cooldown, or like a very short duration of immunity. So you got to make sure that you're going to be out of trouble and not going to be set on fire immediately upon damage controlling. Because if you do, you're just going to be set on fire again. And this thing, like I said, it has the super heal, so it's going to be able to heal all that back. But it is very, very disappointing with the damage control. And it lasts a long time. You got to wait, over a minute for it to come back, I believe. It's got a battleship damage control rather than a cruiser damage control. Defense, spelled wrong. I know, British, I don't care. A hypothetical development of big cruiser designs created by British shipbuilders in the late 1930s, with the main battery gun caliber increased to 14 inches, 356 millimeters. The ship was conceived in response to the strengthening of the Japanese Navy. Her main purpose was to counter enemy heavy cruisers. She was designed in 1940. And again, this ship, I'm enjoying the crap out of it, but it's not pretty. I don't think anybody out there can go, oh, look, another Nelson. It's so beautiful. No, it is ugly as crap. But not form over function. That's the opposite. Function over form. Like, this ship performs. And that is more than I can say about some ships. It may be hideous. It may be squishy. But man, is it fun. And with all of that being said, let's get to the gameplay. Alrighty, so we're going to be on Tears of the Desert in the new defense. Now, like I've already said, and I know I kind of rambled a little bit in the intro, so I apologize for that, but I am thoroughly enjoying this ship, and I do think that this ship is incredibly strong in the right hands and can absolutely do some awesome things. So I can't wait to see what other people are able to do with it. But yeah, in the meantime, you got me out here aping it up and just having a great time. Like I truly do think that this is a fun ship. I don't know if it's going to be the best ship for everybody. It is very squishy. I think a lot of people are going to struggle with that. Like I said, it may look like it's got side armor with 30 millimeters, but I promise you, if you try to use it, more often than not, you're going to regret. So just dodge where you can. Keep your distance until the moment is right. This thing is incredibly powerful when it needs to push in, but keep your distance until that moment. But we're going to showcase the strengths of this ship as it gets out on a flank. Now, right off the bat, we're going to push off to the right. There are a lot of cruisers, a lot of battleships in this match, so we want to get a crossfire set up. Now, we do have the good thing about our spawn is we have two Michelangelos on our flank, which usually means that they're probably going to go forward, and meaning we're probably going to have some spotting. And if I can get out to the islands on my right, that allows me to be in a nasty crossfire that these guys just simply won't have an answer to, because they always play the same way. People always play the same way, folks. They always go forward. They stop behind the islands. They just sit there. They don't really have a plan. Their goal is to try to wait for the enemy to make a mistake. Problem with that thinking is if the enemy doesn't make a mistake and the enemy actually outpositions you, you're just in a vulnerable position. And we're going to showcase that now. And the only reason we get away with this is simple. There's only one destroyer in the entire lobby, and he's not here. He's on the other side. So we got very fortunate there. Now, if he'd have came over here and spotted for his team, this push may not have been possible. But, again, I like the fact that this ship can take these flanks. You guys know I love my super cruisers, right? You call this a battle cruiser, call it a super cruiser, whatever you want to call it. But this thing is disgusting when it gets out on the flanks, and that is what I enjoy most about the big cruisers, the heavy super cruisers, whatever you want to call them, the Alaska, the Stalingrad, the French cruisers. This thing, like, they're so good when they get into position. You got to get them there, but if you can set up a crossfire, these things will reward you, and we're going to showcase that now. Now, like I said, I don't know if Belfast is the right play. I think that you could make an argument that Belfast works, and this was my best game, so you could say, well, Azure Belfast was the commander on your best game, but I honestly, truly believe that if I was using the Bruce Fraser commander in this one, which was my normal build, that this game would have been over 200k easy. Because the grouping that you get with that build, plus the extra armor pinning or pin values and stuff, like you're citadeling battleships at stupid angles. But we are going to put ourselves in position. You can see we do get some shots out. The Schlieffen, of course, is within 12 kilometers, so he's able to start shooting us with secondaries. And the enemy defense over there is going to be shooting HE. Now, that is one thing that a lot of people are going to be using. And I understand why they'll use the HE, but I promise you that if you get a chance, and you can see here I'm checking my smoke firing penalty in the match, which is something that you should be making sure you are aware of, because again, it's a lot of hatred right here. If I get this wrong, I'm broadside, I'm going to get sent to the Shadow Realm. But we are safe here behind the island using our smoke screen, and these smokes do come back a little bit quicker. Now, we are not using the Smogathon perk, just because I wanted the other perk instead, but these smokes still come back very quickly, which is very nice, allowing you to use these effectively. But here we're going to try to trap the enemy Schlieffen, again going widespread. I don't always use widespread. Most of the time I'm going to be using these as tube by tube, but it doesn't matter, because as soon as I launch them, the Schlieffen commits to yellow rushing two Michelangelos while broadside coming around the corner, and then we've got the beautiful crossfire. The secondaries, the Michelangelos, are chewing that Schlieffen apart, plus he's broadside, so they're tearing him up with the guns where they can, and then we're going to get a shot in there to finish him off, getting a first blood. Now, we've only done 19k at this point. The Yamato now is in a position where he's behind the island, and again, this is the importance of this. Now, he's going to make the exact same play that Schlieffen just made, except Yama is even more likely to get sent to the Shadow Realm, and on top of that, he's just not gonna get away with it. Like, why? If that's, like, you just watch somebody that has 8 torpedoes per side and has secondaries and all of the things go in and get absolutely annihilated. And then your Yama is like, yeah, I think I'll go now. And it's one at a time. It's always one at a time. They won't go, like, when they're actually possibly going to be useful. They wait around. Now, enemy Michelangelo gets dev struck by Yama somewhere. We are starting to put some pressure on this defense, and you're going to see some interesting things happen here. We don't overmatch the defense, but we are capable of citadeling the defense with some weird penetrations. Right there's a perfect one of them. This ship just has a massive citadel, and penetrations are going to happen. And when they do, that citadel is going to be exploited. Now, as he opens up the angle, I end up hitting his belt here. A couple of shells go high and actually do some damage, but again, 30mm side plating, as long as he's not an idiot, goes broadside, he's going to be able to get away with it. But unfortunately for him, I've got teammates. I know, crazy concept, but I do. Between the Michelangelo to my left, who's probably not going to get involved too much, and the, well, I say that as he ends up sending our guy, or sending him to the Shadow Realm, but the Pommern starts to push in. Now, I got to give a little bit of credit to this Pommern here. This Pommern may not get a whole lot of damage. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think he actually gets a lot of damage, but he does absorb damage. Now, Michelangelo traded a lot of hit points. His partner traded a lot of hit points with the Schlieffen and the Yamato. Both of them lost a lot of hit points in that engagement. So the Pommern, recognizing this and putting himself out in front to absorb some of that damage, is a big deal. Now, this is something that most battleship captains simply won't do, and it's obnoxious. As a battleship main, this is absolutely something you should be doing, is trading some of your hit points in situations to give your team the best possible chance to win. Alright? That is what a battleship's job is. Yeah, you punish broadsides, I get that. But part of your job is simple, and that is to take hits for your team. Trade some of those hit points, or better yet, don't trade hit points. Get some positioning where you're not going to give up a hit point, while also taking attention away from your teammates, because we're both squishy. That Montana looks at me, he's easily capable of sending me to the Shadow Realm straight through the bow, right? So we're just going to play it safe, sit in our smoke, use our smoke. The Michelangelo can use our smoke. We both have good smoke firing penalties. We can sit back here, and this Michelangelo and I are actually going to, unironically, be trolling the out of the enemy team. And this game's going to be one of those fun, close games that just are so rare nowadays. And that's what I liked about this game even more, and why I showed this game. But here you can see the Pommern secondaries doing what Pommern secondaries are going to do at this range, and then we get a beautiful shot up into the superstructure to finish off the enemy Montana. Now, you can see the Michelangelo in the distance, you can see the Schroeder in the distance, and the République is coming around the corner. Now, the only thing we don't see is the destroyer, but as you can see, our cruiser just gets yeeted by those torpedoes, which is not ideal, but he's also broadside to the rest of the team. But good news is, he's in a smoke, so as long as he doesn't fire his guns, he should be okay to turn away and survive. But us, on the other hand, we've got our smoke coming back. We've got 3 of these smokes, and using these smokes well is a big deal. If you can use these smokes wisely, they are huge for being able to just farm battleships, farm cruisers, if you have spotting. But you need spotting, right? Now, we get a good hit there, 10k damage on the République. We go ahead and drop our smoke screen. This is not going to only benefit me, but also benefit the friendly Michelangelo. Like I said, we can kind of just sit here and farm the enemy. And then the best part is, once we get done with our smoke screen, the Michelangelo is actually going to end up changing and going with a little bit of his own smoke screen. But Schroeder makes a mistake of going full broadside here, and this is where this smoke screen comes in clutch, because we get the fire on the République when we switched, but the Schroeder's full broadside here, and so we already had the AP ready to go, and we're going to make sure we take advantage of him being goofy, and we slap him for a lot of damage. Now, he does run aground, and he is unfortunately going to get the bounce off the island. And so we take a shot at him, and you can see, just as the smoke is starting to run out, Michelangelo now uses his smoke. Now, watch what I do here. I'm going to use the friendly Michelangelo's smoke screen, which is a rolling smoke. It doesn't stick around very much, but it is there. I can use the trailing edge of his smoke to conceal me and continue to use a smoke firing penalty. right? This is something a lot of people just don't get. If you can stay behind that smoke screen, you're golden, right? So we're going to use that to our advantage, and then we're going to start to turn in. It's time. With the Republique on the run, he's got a destroyer out there. Clearly the enemy destroyer is in here going for our teammates. So the destroyer out there on the flank should be able to help with the Republique. We're going to keep the Schroeder backing up. We want to farm him a little bit, try to get him out of here. And then, of course, the Michelangelo is going to be the last target of priority. Now, as the Republique gets caught here, the torpedoes look like they might be out ahead of him. We don't get the shot at the Schroeder, unfortunately, so he gets away for the time being. But as you can see, we've got a pretty good look at the superstructure of the Republique. Again, one of the things that I've talked about with the Republique is that big superstructure. Like, it's one of the few French battleships that have a massive superstructure, and so you can take advantage of that if you get a chance. And unfortunately, we end up missing our shot, but he does take a couple of torpedoes. Our team is doing a good job of focusing him down, and then I get a good shot here into the superstructure, and you'll see much better damage. But of course, in true Spartan fashion, we got to leave him with just enough to get away. So we go ahead and get another shot as we get behind the island. Some SAP starts raining in, and you'll see in a moment that the destroyer is out on my right, and he drops torpedoes on our guys over here. I see those torpedoes coming in. I make sure that I'm good, and then I start committing to the push. Now, Schroeder is low health. We know he goes down. The Republique is also low health. We managed to leave him with just enough to get away again. But we're at 140,000 damage. The enemy Republique is a one-shot kill. All I got to do is sneak a shell in there, and he is a dead man, right? And then, of course, Michelangelo is close range. Now, the beauty of these guns being so fast at reloading is we take the shot. It is a 12-second reload currently for 14-inch guns. Again, stupid, right? But we can start to drop these torpedoes. We force the enemy Michelangelo to make his turn. We guarantee the kill by dropping the torps on the other direction. And then we have the guns ready to go, and we Citadel the man, and should have gotten the kill, but of course, in true Spartan fashion, do I need to say it? Now, we end up, like, drifting into these torps, and that is the one downside of the built-in propulsion mod. Like, you will drift, and you will eat torpedoes that way, but it doesn't matter. We end up taking him down, getting our 4th kill of the game, bringing us up to 168,000 damage total, and showcasing that this thing is nothing to be disrespected, right? Like, this thing is nasty. But notice that I'm not sticking around. Like, I know the game is over, right? And you'll see me start, like, telling everybody good job. Like, everybody here, I'm not complaining about anybody that's left here. The Michelangelo on my flank did his job. His partner in the Michelangelo did his job. This Pommern did his job. Like, it's a beautiful thing when a team actually works together, and you can't really complain about the other team either. Now, I know this looks like a raffle stomp here at the end because it's now 5 versus 1. But a moment ago, it was 4 versus 5. You know what I mean? Like, we just happened to make the right play at the right time to tip the game in our favor. And the game is down to the wire, right? Like, there's only a few seconds left because we have the cap control. You can see that I'm heading in the direction of the enemy destroyer because I know he's out here. We got detected, so we know roughly the direction he's in. And I'm just going to let my team know. Like, game's over. We went on points. But, yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know yesterday I was a little bit tired. Update day is always the worst for me because you literally have to, like, stay up all night long to get ready, and then once the update goes live, then you got to wait for the Wargaming to loan everybody the ships. But top of the leaderboard, we did our job. Over 2,600 base XP. This ship is capable of a lot more, and I can't wait to see what others end up doing with it. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below, and if you like what I'm doing, punch the like button, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you in the next video.